Now, more on the Ukraine crisis. I wonder how are Ukrainians in the UK feeling now as they see their country torn up by Russia from a distance. We can talk to the Bishop of the Ukrainian Catholic Church in London now, the Right Reverend Kenneth Nowakowski. Good afternoon to you, Bishop.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me on your program.
Thank you for joining us. Can I ask you first, Bishop, as a Ukrainian, what are your feelings personally, on seeing your country invaded so viciously by a more powerful neighbour?
Well, 3 weeks ago, when I woke up and turned on my smartphone and saw that the invasion that we all had hoped would not come, but certainly was predictable enough that it was going to happen, my heart broke. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. In this day and age, there could be such a horrible thing happening in Europe, in European cities. The destruction, the loss of lives, the loss of homes, it broke my heart personally. And every day I wake up and I'm thinking perhaps this was just a horrible dream and I'll wake up and everything will be okay, but it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, you tell us your heart broke at the sight, and many people will understand exactly what you mean. Did you feel surprised? And I ask you, in a way, from a churchman's perspective, were you surprised that human beings were capable of what happened then and what they're doing now?
I guess I was surprised that this was happening today in our era and not something that happened 75 or 100 years ago. I thought we had learned so much, and I thought we were so much better than that. But clearly, Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin had other ideas.
Yes, I read your comments, Bishop, at the time of the invasion. You called on political leaders to support your country when that attack began. Now, some weeks in, do you feel content with the response that there's been from, let's say, the British government?
Well, certainly the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition and the deputy of opposition and many members of Parliament and peers have reached out to us, to our Ukrainian community, as well as to myself, including the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall have come to the cathedral, have met with our leaders. And I think that they were listening. I think that, of course, we would wish that more was happening, but especially we welcome this as a first step regarding this new refugee scheme. But I think we need to also see it go further.
Yes. I wonder what you mean when you say that. When you say you'd like to see more happening, can you tell me what specifically you mean when you say more should be happening?
Well, I think that it's going to be very challenging and we're seeing the profile of the refugee are mainly single mothers whose husbands are still in Ukraine fighting, defending Ukraine. So these are women with children, the elderly, and the disabled. I think that if we could have a policy that for the next 2 months, we would let as many people that could come in, even with sponsorship or without sponsorship, come in, and we'll sort out the paperwork afterwards. I can't imagine what it would be like for a mother with 2 or 3 children traveling 500 or 1,000 miles only to have to sit and figure out how to fill out forms in English that are a language that she may not understand, and be told, we want you, but wait still another couple weeks. The fire is happening, it's urgent. So I would like to see those rules relaxed at least for a month, and let's get them here and sort the paperwork out later.
Yeah, so you'd like to see more done more quickly. Now, as things stand, the government has moved to open the doors of the United Kingdom incrementally, stage by stage. You want to see more done. Is the pace at which these changes are being made, do you attribute that to bureaucratic thinking? Is it a lack of compassion? How do you analyze it, Bishop?
Well, I'm certainly not a politician, but from all of the people in the government that I've met, down from the Prime Minister to cabinet ministers, I don't feel that it's a case of trying to ignore the situation or not being compassionate. I think that There is a deep desire to do the right thing, to make sure that this is right, to ensure that when these refugees come here, that they have the right of work, they have the ability to access the NHS, and that they can place their children in school. So I understand that there needs to be some kind of bureaucracy, but of course, I would be deceiving you to say that I wouldn't want it to see this happening more and to be more streamlined.
Yes, I mean, whatever one's view or your view of the performance of the British government or other governments, there's been no shortage, has there, of generosity and compassion among people around the world, including in Britain. I wonder what your reflections are on that.
Well, certainly since this happened 3 weeks ago, the goodwill of the people throughout the United Kingdom has been overwhelming in their solidarity, in their care, their compassion. Different faith communities reaching out to us, private individuals, organizations, businesses, all wanting to know how they can help, how they can react and respond in positive and actual meaningful ways.
Yes. And tell me,
one of the things that I've realized over the last 3 weeks, that this world has never been more Ukrainian, and Ukraine now has never been more global. When I was growing up outside of Ukraine, people would say, well, where's Ukraine? Is it a real country? And I think now every day we've seen the map of Ukraine, where it is, that it's one of the largest countries in Europe, population up until 3 weeks ago of over 44 million people. And I think the awareness has happened, and the people that are coming here, if we think about it, 3 weeks ago, these were ordinary people with ordinary lives, school teachers, shop owners, people who were actors, singers, politicians, policemen, janitors, construction people. Their lives have been destroyed.
Yes. I mean, there is, look, certainly from my limited view here, but certainly from here, I've seen that striking sense of community that crosses national boundaries. And just lastly and briefly, the community to which you minister, the Ukrainian community in London and the UK, has this crisis brought that people together?
Well, certainly it has brought people together, both those who are regular churchgoers and those who maybe don't frequent churches too often. I think that we've all embraced each other as a family and are supporting each other. Everybody has somebody in Ukraine or on their way fleeing Ukraine. And so I think we've given each other that family support that we so desperately need today.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us on the program this afternoon. That is Kenneth Nowakowski, Bishop of the Ukrainian Catholic Church in London.